What are you doing down there?
We already finished our battle, so we decided to come help you with you. No disrespect. I can hide here with you, and we can let the people in the city suffer.
No,
Or we can do things my way. Hold your fire. I have come to surrender.
How much longer we stuck down here? Hang in there a little longer.
Why have you ceased fire?
There he is. Now or two.
Bravo, Anakin.
Oh, I can't take all the credit.
Always glad to help, my friend.
We've received a transmission from someone using your subspace frequency. You had best take this transmission here on the ship.
What's so important you brought us all the way back here?
Hello, Master. It's been a while.
Before we move on to the next topic, if you have anything you'd like to dive deeper into from the previous segment, please leave a comment below. All right, let's move on to the next topic. We often ask if it is possible to be more Jedi than the Council itself by refusing to be a Jedi at all. Ahsoka Tano's path was not a retreat. It was an evolution into a selfless warrior without a master. Shedding her title allowed her to achieve the ultimate victory over a broken system. This is the core truth we will unpack across this series, as we dive into the full journey of one of the most profound and beloved characters in the Star Wars galaxy. To understand the weight of Ahsoka's choice, we must first ground ourselves in the context of her creation, her upbringing, and the world that shaped her. George Lucas first introduced Ahsoka Tano in 2008 with the launch of the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, animated film and subsequent series. Lucas created the character with two core intentions. First, he wanted to give Anakin Skywalker a Padawan learner, to reveal a softer, more paternal side of the future Darth Vader that audiences had never seen before. Second, he wanted a young, relatable perspective through which viewers could experience the brutality and moral complexity of the Clone Wars through the eyes of a child growing up in the middle of a galaxy-spanning conflict. From the very beginning, Ahsoka was designed to be more than a side character. She was designed to grow, to challenge, and to ultimately redefine what it meant to be a guardian of the light side of the Force. Over the course of 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, we watched Ahsoka evolve from a brash, overconfident 14-year-old Togruta girl who nicknamed herself Snips and pushed back against her master's every order, into a mature, compassionate, and deeply principled warrior. She fought in countless battles. She saved countless lives. She faced down separatist armies, Sith lords, bounty hunters, and even the darkest corners of her own fear and doubt. Through it all, her identity was inextricably tied to the Jedi Order. From the age of 3, when her Force sensitivity was discovered on her home planet of Shili, she was taken to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. She was raised in the temple halls, taught the Jedi Code, and trained to one day become a Jedi Knight. The Jedi Order was not just her job or her calling. It was her home. It was her family. It was the entire foundation of her identity. For more than a decade, every choice she made, every skill she learned, every step she took, was in service of becoming a Jedi. That is what makes her choice to walk away from the Order, to leave the temple behind forever, so profoundly revolutionary. To dismiss that choice as a moment of teenage rebellion, or a tragic fall from grace, is to miss the entire point of Ahsoka's journey. To frame her departure as a surrender is to ignore the incredible courage it took to walk away from everything she had ever known at the age of 17, with no support, no protection, and no clear path forward in the middle of a galaxy at war. Ahsoka did not leave the Jedi Order because she had abandoned the Jedi way. She left because the Jedi Order had abandoned the Jedi way. Over the course of the Clone Wars, we watched the once noble order of peacekeepers transform into something unrecognizable. The Jedi, who had once dedicated themselves to mediation, compassion, and the protection of all life, became generals in the Grand Army of the Republic. They traded their robes for armor, their negotiations for blasters, and their commitment to peace for an obsession with winning the war at any cost. They became entangled in the political machinations of the Galactic Senate, compromising their principles again and again to maintain the favor of politicians, most notably the Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine, who was secretly the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, the very architect of the war they were fighting. The Jedi Council, once the guiding light of the Order, became a body of fear, paranoia, and hypocrisy. They turned a blind eye to the suffering of civilians in the Outer Rim so long as the core worlds remained safe. They lied to their own knights, to the Senate, and to the galaxy, to protect their own power and influence. They abandoned the very core of the Jedi Code, which taught that attachment was forbidden, yet they became attached to their own status, their own authority, and their own vision of victory above all else. Ahsoka watched this decay unfold firsthand. She saw the Council send her master on secret, morally questionable missions. She saw them abandon clone troopers who were deemed expendable. She saw them dismiss the suffering of innocent people because it did not fit into their grand strategy for the war. She saw the gap between what the Jedi claimed to be and what they had actually become widen with every passing day. And then, in the final season of the Clone Wars, that gap became a chasm when the Order turned on her completely. Falsely accused of bombing the Jedi Temple hangar, of murdering clone troopers, of treason against the Republic, Ahsoka was abandoned by almost everyone she trusted. The Jedi Council, without a fair trial, without evidence, without even the pretense of the compassion they claimed to uphold, labeled her a criminal. They expelled her from the Order and handed her over to a Republic military tribunal that had already decided she was guilty. The only person who stood by her, who fought to prove her innocence, was her master Anakin Skywalker. Anakin eventually uncovered the truth, that the bombing had been carried out by Ahsoka's fellow Padawan, Barriss Offee, who had turned against the Jedi Order after witnessing its corruption firsthand. Barriss's final words before her arrest were a searing indictment of the Order she had once served. She told the tribunal that the Jedi had become the very thing they swore to destroy, that they were no longer peacekeepers, but warmongers, that the war had turned them to the dark side, just as it had turned her. Ahsoka heard those words, and she knew in her heart that they were true. When the Jedi Council, faced with the proof of her innocence, invited her back into the Order and even offered to promote her directly to the rank of Jedi Knight, Ahsoka said no. She walked down the steps of the Jedi Temple, out into the rain, and left the only home she had ever known, forever. This is the moment that defines Ahsoka Tano's legacy. This is the moment that sets her apart from every other Jedi in the Star Wars saga. She did not stay in a broken system, hoping to change it from within. She did not compromise her principles to hold on to her title, her status, or her home. She chose to walk away, even though it cost her everything, because she could not, in good conscience, be part of an Order that had abandoned its own core values. And in that choice, she did not abandon the Jedi way. She reclaimed it. Over the years that followed, Ahsoka would go on to do